We begin in the Middle East, where Israel's military says it is expanding operations to dismantle Hamas infrastructure in Gaza. Fighting has been focused in the central and southern areas of the Strip, backed by intensive airstrikes. The IDF releasing this footage of what they claim are Hamas tunnels that they've destroyed. This as the humanitarian situation worsens. The Palestinian Health Authority says more than 160 people were killed in central Gaza in the past 24 hours. The total number has now passed 21,600 dead. The World Health Organization is expressing concern over the spread of infectious diseases in Gaza, with hundreds of thousands of Palestinians displaced. Many are now living in overcrowded tents and shelters. So far, they have documented upper respiratory infections, lice and scabies, chickenpox, and meningitis outbreaks, among others. The UN says nearly 2 million Palestinians have been displaced in Gaza. That is about 85% of the population. Meanwhile, South Africa has launched a case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. The submission accuses Israel of carrying out genocide in Gaza. It also urges the top UN court to issue an interim order for Israel to suspend its military operations. Israel says it is trying to minimize harm to civilians as it targets Hamas, and adds it rejects the allegations. Joining us now is Rahul Singh, Executive Director of GlobalMedic. Rahul, thank you very much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you, Roger.
There are growing concerns now. We've talked about it before, but now there are growing concerns. Infectious diseases are starting to show up in Gaza. Just what is it like there? Do we have an idea?
Oh, and listen, it's horrible. You know, when we talk to our partners that are there, and they're just telling us how bad it was. Look, Roger, I led a team that went in there in 2008, crossed from Rafah in Egypt. You know, the fighting had just stopped, and we were coming in and setting up water units in the camps for displaced folks. And at the time, we thought it was the end of the world, you know, and then this is just so much worse. Like, I just can't tell you how much worse this is compared to even then in 2008. But let's just unpack these infectious diseases. You have an entire population, 2.3 million people, 85% of them are displaced. They're hungry. They're not really eating. There's a lack of food. I mean, you see people raiding aid trucks and like biting on pasta that's raw. Like that tells you people are hungry. There's no clean water. So now people that are hungry with a lowered immune system are drinking dirty water. They're getting sick. They don't have the ability to fight off some of these diseases. And now you're seeing the spread of different diseases, whether they're respiratory, skin disorders. We always see this when you have mass displacement, lice, scabies, skin diseases, upper respiratory infections. When the waterborne diseases break out, that's when people really start to die, especially the young and the elderly.
Is there a concern? I mean, I'm not saying this is in control right now, but is there a concern that this really could spiral really out of control?
I think it's already really out of control. Like I think we're just commentating on it as it's just unfolding, but daily exponentially this increases, right? Like you mentioned, there's 21,000 dead. Add context to that. 8 out of 10 of those people that are killed are not militants. It's not someone with a gun. It's a woman or a child. I mean, it's a child. Like a 4-year-old child is getting killed often in this context because of the fighting, and then people are just hungry, and then these numbers just scale out of control. Even if there was no fighting as of right now, the amount of aid to get in, the amount of water to get in, the ability to get in, just the capacity to get in would take weeks to scale up, right? Just to try and meet that increasing death toll head on and stop it. So we are literally witnessing one of the largest humanitarian catastrophes of our lifetimes.
Is the aid there? Suppose there is a ceasefire. Is the aid waiting on the other side of the fence?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of aid that's waiting on the other side of the fence. Like the first crossing in Rafah has been slow. Before the war, 500 trucks a day would come in between the 3 crossings. There's 2 in Israel and then 1 in Egypt, and the 2 in Israel did by far the most amount, right? Now, with Gaza, with the entire population needing help, you probably need more like 1,300 trucks a day compared to the 500 trucks a day that were commercial. On our best day, we're like 130 trucks, right? So it's just a trickle coming in when you have a massive amount of needs. Now, Israel did open up a second crossing in through Israel itself, but even that one's only getting 70, 80. It's got to get up to a few hundred. Rafah's got to get up to a few hundred. Like, there is aid waiting to come in, but even that level of aid is, outstripped by the demand that's on the inside, and then getting that aid to the people that need it. Like, look, once you get the aid in, if there's no fuel for trucks to move it, or there's no ability for people to even cook the food that you're bringing in, can you see how this just gets more and more difficult by the layers? And then you're showing images of hospitals, like, people are out of supplies in these hospitals, just trying to get the supplies in make it harder. And some of these hospitals are no longer functional, right? And at the best of times, there were only 2,500 hospital beds in all of Gaza before the war for a population of 2.5 million or 2.3 million.
And we're almost out of time, but what would you like to see people do to help out?
Listen, Canadians can help by giving to their favorite humanitarian aid agency, because agencies like ours and other agencies are doing their best to get in. But you need to see you need a cessation of hostilities, a lasting peace, just something to figure out how we can get to these people that are in need.
All right, Rahul, thank you as always for joining us.
Take care.
Rahul Singh, Executive Director of GlobalMedic.